I like working on my own life and following my own pursuits. And it's like, okay, well, part of one of the three questions, or the three questions are like, who am I? What do I want to do? How does it benefit other people? Like those are the three questions.
Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. This is episode 7. I have a very special guest today, Derek Weida. He's best known for having face tattoos and playing the guitar, I believe.
Sometimes is that what I'm best known for?
I have no idea.
Suppose known for those things. I like being number 7 because it would be like 007, the 007. I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good number to be. It's the number of completion, according to the Abrahamic religions.
Only you know that, Dan.
I know. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to make it on. I know this is kind of a different show than I've been doing before. I don't know. You've one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because you've always been very thoughtful, but never political. Like, you just don't care about politics at all. But that doesn't stop you from thinking about shit a lot. So I think
Right.
it's one of the things I've been trying to do with this whole show is to I guess depoliticize the philosophical debates we're having in the country, because there's no use for that stuff anymore. Not that there really ever was, but that it just got captured by politics. And these conversations are far too important to be left to like a sophomoric shouting match happening in the public discourse like that. It's just it's stupid. It's really stupid.
Yeah. When I saw your Instagram post when you announced this new show, and I was like, oh man, that's great. And I don't comment much on Instagram, but I think I did stop in and say, like, dude, this is a great idea, because a show like this, like, I know you did maybe sometimes you talk politics and there's a time and place for that, but a show like this brings it back to like the individual. Like, what is your responsibility? How do you live a good life? Because it's not to say that I don't care about politics. It's just that maybe that's my political. I think everybody has like an individual responsibility to figure out who they are, what they want to do, and do that to the best of their ability. And that's how people are happiest, in my opinion. And that's, and if you get a bunch of happy people living life with purpose, it makes sense you'd have a pretty strong country. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like whenever I have these conversations with people, certain groups of people, I think it comes off the wrong way. Like, I'm not. It's not tough guy nonsense. It's not like macho shit. It's not just the platitude to pull yourself up by your bootstraps or any of that stuff, because I understand a lot of people are going through a lot of messed up stuff in life. Life is tough. It's wall to wall pretty much. Like you the good stuff that happens in life is definitely outweighed by either the boring or the annoying or the outright terrible. But that's fine. So it's this conversation isn't about flexing on people or trying to act tough and shit like that. It's what you said. It's like, it's a very effective way to go through life, to meet challenges head on and to take personal responsibility for everything that's going on around you. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, every time you eschew some responsibility that you should be taking, or some event in your community, or more broadly speaking, that you should be taking part in, then you kind of subjugate yourself to the whims of the other people around you. And that could be good or bad at sometimes, right? Like, we have to trust each other sometimes, but the higher you go up that pyramid, the more and more problematic it gets, I guess, because people can be shit bags. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the people that
that's
really
the
are
curveball of life, man.
Yeah.
There's actually like total pieces of shit. They just fucking ruin everything.
Yeah, and it seems like the farther you get into something, whatever it is, business or politics or any of that stuff, government, um, the more frequently you start to run into these people. It's because they're deeply insecure and they desire power, right?
Yeah.
That's how they overcome their insecurity. But this isn't about like chastising people or pretending like I'm tougher than I am or that you are, because you and I have been in some pretty dark
Right.
spots too. You know what I mean? This isn't about any of that
Yeah.
stuff. It's about a roadmap. Like, what are some things I can
Yeah.
do to fence in my philosophical life a little bit and have some boundaries and some waypoints, you know what I mean, that makes sense,
Yeah.
that not
Hmm.
only makes sense for me, but makes sense for everything that I'm doing, which means they make sense for everybody else as well. That's kind of what we're trying to get at now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. I'm all about that. I don't deny. I think, you know, being too macho or something isn't fucking helpful to anyone because when you do care about life and you try to live a good one, that's really fucking hard. And there's a lot of different kinds of challenges that
Mm.
you face. So yeah, and not talking about it doesn't do anybody any fucking favors, you know? So yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. It really
Yeah.
is. Just the way that, like, the way that when we were in our 20s, the way we approached problems was really stupid. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I imagine that's probably true for a lot of 20-year-olds, even if they weren't, we were in pretty extreme circumstances at the time, but like from the experience I've had with other people in that age group, it seems to be pretty ubiquitous. Everybody's kind of an idiot. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I remember distinctly being an
Yeah.
idiot until I was like 31 or 32 years old. Because
Hmm.
I started
And that was
making,
fine.
yeah. I started making better decisions. And then at some point I started reflecting back on my 20s. I'm like, man, I was really dumb. How did I live through any of that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, that does see. I think about that a lot
Mm,
actually. It's like, but not I'm not too hard on myself, or and I'm actually around at the place that I work out. Around a lot of people in their 20s, and then I know this isn't so much about politics, but a weird thing that is happening now is like those kids have so much power these days
mm,
because of social media and stuff. It's like it's fine to be. I mean, maybe that's the process of getting to where we are a little bit today. If we're somewhere, you got to go through your 20s, but like we didn't have as much power back then, and good, because we were fucking, it's not that we were dumb, it's just that we were in our 20s,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't look. I don't regret any of it. It is what it is, right? There's
Yeah.
no like
Yeah.
that's a completely useless thing to do, is sit around
Yeah.
regretting things you've done.
But
Um,
it is funny looking back,
oh, it's really funny, yeah. But it's I actually think it's kind of helpful because it gives you perspective. Like
Mhm.
there's a story. I can't remember what the origin of it is, but I heard it on the West Wing TV show from like the late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And there's a guy talking to another person, and they were gonna go to Alcoholics Anonymous together because they were both alcoholics. And the guy's like, he was trying to talk him into it. He was like, "Well, I'm not really into that." Um, and he tells him this story. He's like, a guy falls down in a well, and he can't manage to get himself out. So his uh, his doctor comes by and he's like, "Hey doc, can you help me get out of this well?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure, I'll help you out." And he writes him a prescription and throws it down in the well. It's like, all right, cool,
Yeah.
man. That didn't really help me out much.
Yeah.
Then a priest comes by, and the priest, he's like, "Hey, Father, help me. I can't get out of this well." The priest says a prayer and he walks on. And then his buddy comes by and he goes, "Hey, bro, I'm in this well. This is bullshit." So he's like, "All right, cool. I'll help you out." He jumps down in the well, and the guy's like, "What the hell are you doing? Now we're both stuck in here." And he's like, "Yeah, but I've been here before, and I know the way out." You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
like, I really appreciated that perspective when I first heard it, but I didn't really understand it until I one of my soldiers actually, after I was out, came to me with a problem. I was like, "Oh, I've been here before. I know exactly how to handle this situation." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you're a dad.
Hmm.
So how's that change your life?
um well, now thinking about that story and then asking me being about a dad. When before the boys were born, I was afraid that I was going to be a shitty dad
Mm.
because I was just like really I was like, man, what do I know? I you know like I'm just maybe I have been hard on myself most of my life. Like I'm a loser, I'm a bum. What do I have to teach someone else or something, But then, since the boys have been born, um, kind of like forces me into that leadership role, and I think about that story a lot. It's like my kids are only 3.5 years old right
Mm.
now, but once they start coming into those like 15, 16, 17, 18 and onwards, where they're like really confronting life and challenges of being a man, a person,
Yeah.
figuring out who they are, what
Where
they
there's
want to do.
actual
It's like, ooh,
consequences.
this is where I can be useful to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. Cause
Yeah.
like, I've just sort of been, kind of like, um, trying hard to figure out those questions my whole life. And now it's been 20 years. So it's like, oh, maybe I do have something that I can teach you and help guide
Yeah.
you. And then like the flip side of that, that's something that's like, Father's Day just passed, and I only think about my my kids, like me being a dad, and then I saw on Instagram, I was like, oh yeah, shit, people are posting about their dads, and I'm like, fuck, that's sad, because I didn't have a great relationship
Mm.
with my dad, and he died in 2016, and it's like it wasn't that he was like a bad person, but he just didn't try
Mm.
at life, and he was kind of like a just one of those sad, insecure people that
Mm.
blamed everybody else for the problems. And he would sit there and watch TV and yell like he was just this like kind of lazy person who'd given up on his life, but he followed politics religiously. And he would sit there and yell and scream at the TV, and so it was like I don't know, I don't want to be inconsiderate to other people, but I don't know what's worse is like not having a dad at all or having a dad that's not like a dad, because
Mm.
I go through these challenges in my life and I'm like, fuck, it would be really nice if I had somebody to call who's been here before, like I maybe like your parents or your first line of, I don't know if you call it like defense or support,
Mm.
but when you're like, dealing with relationship or job troubles or just your own, you don't know exactly what you're doing, you call someone who's 25 years your senior, who loves and cares about you, and they're going to give you good ass guidance and advice if they've bothered to live a good lives themselves, so it's not like I live my life for me, but I'm not you know a close second is because I do give a shit about my role as a dad,
Mm.
you know.
Well, I
And
think that's
and
important, man. I mean, it's like
yeah,
one of the common phrases you hear parents, new parents, or even people that have had a couple of kids say is that they want to give their kids more than what they had, right, or better.
mm-hmm,
What they usually mean
yeah,
by that is like college and financial stability and opportunities and shit. But
yeah,
I always wonder, like, yeah, that stuff's fine, but all that stuff is kind of success. There's certainly a correlation between having opportunities and achieving success, but we see a lot of people with a lot of opportunity fail miserably because they weren't prepared to do any of it in the first place, right? So it's not like just
yeah,
opportunity. I wonder how we're improving each generation's version of parenting, or at least in like from our perspective, because I mean, we failed pretty miserably in parenting over the last 20 years or so. All the data
yeah,
bears this out. Like people, the latchkey kid thing, locking up a bunch of people and not replacing, like, yeah, they committed crimes, they got to go to jail, got it. But not replacing the father figure in their lives somehow. We fucked up an entire
yeah,
generation of people by doing this stuff.
yeah,
And I wonder, like, now it's pretty easy to improve because we fucked it up so badly. But I don't want to just make incremental improvement when it comes to our greatest resource, which is our human beings, our people. Like, we have to get back to correct, not improve. We need to get back to correct as fast as possible. That's kind of how I see that.
yeah. No, I like what you said there and about It is true, parent. Like, as a parent, you want to give your kids the thing
Yeah,
you
of
didn't
course.
have. But like exactly to what you said, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not paying for their college or
Mm.
fucking like that's easy stuff. They can figure that out. I didn't like coming into being. I think I read it in a Jordan Peterson book. He has a chapter in like the 12 rules for life
Mm.
about being a parent,
Yep.
and it was crazy because I didn't even consider it because you have kids, and he wrote some words and made me think. He's like, you're not raising a child, you're raising an adult. And I was like, oh shit. And so the things I want to give my kids that I didn't have is like, or at least give them their best chance at, is like self-esteem and
Mm.
confidence. And like when they meet a challenge, are um uh do they know how to like face that and deal with the fear and insecurity and overcome that, or how easy can I make that for them, giving them those kinds of things. And not this, like, when I say self-esteem, not this like bullshit artificial motherfucking self-esteem type fucking feel
Yeah,
good
yeah.
shit, you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
self-esteem, confidence, where it's like the things that are important to me to teach the boys is like, I want them to like themselves and I want them to like other people, because it just has such a huge impact on kids. And you don't get that long to write the program in a human. You got like
Yeah.
7 years max,
I mean,
It's
really
like,
not even that much because I mean, so you can write
yeah, it's like up to 4 years.
yeah, you can
Yeah.
write like baseline code up to then, but then they start getting out into social situations and developing their own habits. Then it becomes a much greater challenge. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that's a really important point to prepare kids for. I guess Jonathan Haidt says, "Prepare the road, or prepare your kids for the road. Don't prepare the road for your kids." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because life is going to be
And
tough.
it's honestly such a hard thing to do
Mm,
because you want to do everything
yeah.
for that motherfucker because you just fucking love them. But like that you could be doing the kid a disservice
Mm,
by being too nice to him. So, and then it's also, and I don't, me well enough to know, like, I'm not I don't applaud myself much, but like I know that like, I'm an above knee amputee and I do what I do. I live the life that I live. I feel like if I keep trying and keep doing well, like maybe that's a good example for my kids. Like when they, like, say one of them goes to fucking, I don't know, they can do whatever they want to do, but maybe they go to basic training
mm,
and they're thinking about quitting or something like that. But they're like, that's not where I came from.
yeah.
Like one of those stories where it's like, my dad worked hard, he didn't complain. I'm his blood. I can do this, like
I mean
that
that
kind of
that
shit.
means
I
something. Like I'm a Weida, we don't quit.
yeah,
It sounds like a platitude, but that's a real thing that sticks in kids' minds forever, man.
yeah. And so that's, above all, that's what I want to give my kids, because that's something that I've personally struggled. Like, if I've been trying to get somewhere in life in, like, the last 20 years, it's trying to get that kind level of confidence, or at
Mm,
least track record, because I don't know, I kind of came out of high school like a broken motherfucker,
mm,
and I don't know who, what, or why, but the only thing is, like, and that just that gets tough, like,
mm,
fuck dealing with, like, I mean, depression is a part of life, but like, fuck having to deal with like overwhelming thoughts of suicide
mm.
and just like fucking mass, like, that can be, avoided, or if not entirely, like, supported pretty well,
Mm. Well, I mean, I think it's
So
pretty
yeah.
obvious what was going on with you. It's a lack of it's the same thing that a lot of young men, if not most young men, run into at some point in their lives to varying degrees, and it's a lack of purpose, right? So all of your
Yeah.
biology is telling you that you need to go out, especially if you're somebody that is rooted ethically somehow. Your brain is telling you to go out and do something physical to help other people, right? Whether it's
Yeah.
war or whatever, right? Just being a good dude, being a
Yeah.
strong presence and stopping other people from doing stuff. And when you have that biological urge, when you have the athletic capabilities and inclinations, and they don't get used on anything. It turns into rage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
rage turned inwards. That's what depression is. Like, you hate yourself because you have no purpose. That's really what it
Yeah.
is.
And, and so, uh, like anybody else, I think about, how I came to be that way, and never, like, not to shit on my parents or something like that, but, um, both of my parents, they didn't, like, a lot of people just sort of give up on that, right? Like, don't chase their fucking true calling,
Mm-hmm.
or like they're too afraid, and they, like, clock in, clock out, get a job, and then that becomes their narrative, and they sort of like pass on their narrative. Like, I'm me. I'm But I was raised to be like this good Christian that
Mm-hmm.
goes to college and gets a fucking good corporate job. Like, that's, I was raised, like, I'm me, but they were raising someone else, and so that was kind of my, like, a dilemma,
Yeah.
or like it still is. It's like I was taught that, in a sense, like, I kind of grew up thinking that being me is wrong,
Right.
because it's like I'm fucking, like, I feel like I'm being pulled this direction
Mm.
internally, but externally I'm being pushed that
Yeah. Yeah.
direction. That's a fucking shitty conflict,
Mm.
and it doesn't, and it's not like they were like my parents or teachers or anything. Like, they loved me and wanted what's best for me. They just didn't know maybe a little bit better, So
Yeah. I
I,
mean, I
I
think
I'm
that's,
careful about that with the way I live my life. Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of that's got to be a problem. I guess by coincidence sometimes, or maybe by genetics, you're a child's going to be super aligned in that way with their parents, or maybe with whomever the alpha is among their parents. They're going to be super aligned with that person in those kind of ways. But I feel like it's pretty common that that's not the case, and that's got to be tough for both. Like, for the kid, it's like a struggle session, which is like
Yeah.
almost like an 18-year long forced denunciation of who you are as a human being. You know what I mean? And then and then
Yeah. Dude.
but for the parent, like, they have no idea that any of this is going on, because I don't think anybody ever
Yeah.
teaches parents. Like, so in my estimation, if you're a parent to a young child, especially these days with all the crazy, like, social media shit going on, it probably would be a good thing for you to take some educational psychology classes, like, even if it's just like reading books or something like that, and figure out how the process of developing habits and intellect work, right? Like, so
Yeah.
how you develop social competence over time. And one of the most important ones is in my opinion, I was thinking about this the other day, is the concept of love, generally speaking. So we get taught the word love long before we understand what it means, right? But we know it's like it's one of the most important words in our vocabulary, and it's used to us all the time, and it's used to us primarily by the people who are in control of our lives, who we depend on. But we have no idea at 3 or 4 or 5 years old what that means. We have no concept of that. Our parents use the phrase "I love you" over and over and over again, especially in the early years, to get you to say it back to them, right? Because that's important to parents to hear that back from their kid. And we repeat it over and over, until, so the first concept of love is not to associate love with what it actually is, but rather to associate it with how whomever taught it to us treats us on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what does love mean?
Yeah.
Does love mean protection, or does it mean intimidation? Right? Those are super
Yeah.
close together, but they're very, very different in outcome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How you treat your children in the first 5 years, like how you teach them what the word love means to them, it'll permeate throughout their entire life and every relationship they ever have for the rest of their life, regardless of what new experiences they may have or what new information they may gain. That core element, like one of the most important words in the human language, is going to stay with them. That definition that you created for them by your actions, not what you said, but by your actions in the first couple of years of their life, is the most important shit that'll ever happen in their life, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
No
I
pressure
had
though.
a,
No pressure.
right. Yeah. No, it's like, yeah, right. It's only, yeah. I, I was, I was reading some books about love in the last year, and I read this book. I think his name is Gary John Bishop. He writes these books like make shit or anyways, he's got a book. It's called Love Unfucked, I think,
Mm.
and it was
Yeah,
really cool because
he's
he
the
says like,
subtle art of not or subtle art of not giving a fuck. Unfuck yourself. All those
no,
books, right?
that's Matt Morris or something like that. This guy Gary John, it's either Gary John Bishop or John Gary Bishop, but it's called like Unfuck Yourself,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
That's
think.
it.
And
Yeah.
but anyways, the book is called Love Unfucked, and he I literally never considered this or something. I thought it was really cool. He was saying like love, we all think, we all think love is something you get,
Mm.
love is something you receive, but like real like mature adult love, it just comes from the perspective of like it's what you give,
Mm.
like you give love. And like to what you're saying, there's like I do tell my kids I love them, like every night before bed, or just maybe like here or there randomly throughout the day. And that's kind of my, just like I just want them to know like that
Mm.
I do love and care about them. But then like, like showing them love, and kind of what you're saying, like that definition is like, am I giving the love?
Mm.
Like when they're being annoying, when they do something wrong, when they piss me off, when I'm trying to teach them, am I being nice and patient and calm? Or am I, as all I'm doing is saying like no, 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 and
Mm.
punishing them, or something like that. I'm really, I'm really careful not to uh be one of those parents who only steps in to say no, 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 don't do this,
Right.
don't do this, don't do this. I see that's like a lot.
Mm.
And kind of like when I was reading the principles of this show, or it's kind of like the personal responsibility thing. I feel like people, I don't I'm so busy trying to live a good life that I don't fucking bother anybody else about living theirs.
Mm.
It's like, and so it kind of makes things a little bit easier in that sense, or like you're more empathetic and understanding. It's like,
Mm.
okay, I'm trying to live a good life. I'm trying to be a good person. I'm trying to figure out like how to be the best at being me. And I'm confronted with all these challenges. It's like I'm a strong person, but
Mm.
I can be really fucking weak and out of control, and I don't understand that. And so it's like, man, if I'm having this trouble, like I should be nice to other people and understand that like this shit is hard and we're all just doing our best. So, and that kind of comes into um how I sort of am as a dad, and
Mm.
um, things I can teach the boys later on. Yeah, it's funny when you try hard and care. It's not like when you try to be happy. It's not an easy life, But going
That's
into
kind of
those
about
like
managing expectations, though, right? Why would it be easy? Like
yeah,
life has never been
mm-hmm,
easy. Why would it be easy?
yeah. Well, if we're gonna talk, um, and that's one of the things that sort of frustrates me about people
Mm.
who talk a lot about politics and America, and they're like, oh, America should be this, people should do this. This is so easy. Why can't everybody just be this way or something
Mm.
like that? Like it's so easy to fucking do that. And it's a mistake because if all of us are being honest, we are not as good as we want to be at our own fucking lives.
Mm.
But like, I mean, then there are, um, and I have a good understanding of who I am, what I enjoy, and how that can benefit other people. And so I'm kind of in like the fitness realm. Like I like mental and physical health and development and shit like that. And sometimes I'm like, well, why doesn't everybody care more about that? But
Mm.
everybody has their roles. And I think you have this role, and this
Mm.
is like you're good. Or I don't. Sometimes I'm like, man, how does Dan care about these big topics so much? It's like, well, somebody fucking has to, because otherwise we're just all gonna get fucking wrecked by the pieces of shit, the curveball,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so I mean to the kid thing and the love thing that you mentioned before, I was thinking about it. Maybe it makes sense. Like we get into and I'm going to talk about habits because I think the first principle you chose is mostly about habit. But maybe it's about changing our habits from just having the 4 or 5 organic times a day that we tell our kids we love them, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
morning, at night, when they leave for school, whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? Maybe it makes sense to tell your kids you love them when you're helping them with something. Like, I love you. I'm going to
Yeah.
help you with this. Like, associate those
Mm-hmm.
words with the actual action at the earliest possible opportunity when you protect them from something. But even when you're correcting them, like, hey, what you're doing is wrong. Here's why. And I'm telling you this because I love you, right? Like, it may
Mm-hmm.
seem kind of pedantic and heavy, like ham-handed
Yeah.
to do it that way, but kids aren't stupid. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
tell them things that make sense, they will learn those things and they will apply them to their lives. That's how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the primary principle you chose, the first one anyways, was I will do something every day to help my country, my countrymen are all men. What is that? What is that? What stood out to you about that?
Um, well, let me see if this is like I I think in in a good way, not as superficial. I do get a lot of like personal satisfaction from being of service to other people. I want to be helpful to people. I want to, or just because like and that's not, or it's nice. It's nice to be nice. It's
Mm,
nice to. Like for the fucking asshole that I can be, like I so badly just want people to be fucking happy,
mm,
and and so it's something like that. But and like we joined, like we were in the fucking military. That's serving our country, serving the people. We have to find reasons. I didn't join the military out of honestly, like I wasn't like a patriotic person.
mm,
I'm not even still to this day like super big on nationalism. Like I love my country and I will fucking defend and protect it. But I'm also like kind of a fucking humanist and
mm.
globalist, and I, so um but so you have to, when you're over there in Iraq, you have to figure out why you're fucking there doing that thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, okay, it's not so much for my country. It's just like, one, it's for you know the other people that are there.
Yep.
Like I kind of said, like I'm an able, willing body. I'll go join them, and then it's also so other people don't fucking have to, because somebody fucking has to do this shit.
Mm,
We all fucking think we all like. Sure, it's kind of fun, and like some people are, you know, I certainly like enjoyed the life of a soldier, but
mm,
I could do without war existing. But like it's part of human nature, right? Like
mm.
somebody has to do it. But it's just, and it's just like, well, so somebody else doesn't fucking have to. I don't know. I have this like innate fucking ability or desire to sacrifice a little bit of
Mm.
my self or happiness to make to make other people. I enjoy that in one, and but at the same time I fucking struggle with it, because I'm often like, well, who the fuck am I? What do I do? What do I know? How could I be of benefit to somebody else? Like, is
Right.
that just my fucking ego talking? And that's sort of my conflict, but we got to do something with our lives. And in that statement is like, I like how you break it down, where it's not just about your country, countrymen, or it's just all fucking people,
Mm,
right? And then in that statement, sometimes to me, like sometimes like in the way my life has sort of become, like I am sort of in somewhat of a leadership position. Like like I offer up
mm,
myself, my life, my experiences to other people. Um, and I put myself out there, and for one reason or the other, some people do look up to me or look to me for guidance or something like that. And it's not always about me telling someone what to do to help them out. Sometimes it means me confronting my own demons and challenges,
mm.
and maybe just letting a motherfucker see that sometimes I
Mm,
can't, like when it comes to serving others, part of that is fucking serving yourself.
mm,
So it's like I can't, it's like and I like how you bring up habits and stuff like that. Like the last couple of years, I feel I'm kind of having like the best years of my life
mm,
right now personally, and I have these like daily habits where it's kind of like for good reasons so like the work is good for the work itself, not the outcome, but it's like, like nutrition is good,
Mm,
spending time outside, hydration, healthier sleep practices. I meditate daily, I exercise. And these things aren't like, I mean, I take the fitness, I take it to another extreme as like a professional athlete. Um, but just like an hour, 60 to 90 minutes a day of working on yourself is part of, and we all know this. We've heard the things like you can't pour from an empty glass or
mm,
something like that. But yeah, it's like if I like working on my own life and following my own pursuits, and it's like, okay, well, the part of one of the three questions, or the three questions are like, who am I? What do I want to do? How does it benefit other people?
mm.
Like those are the three questions. How does it benefit? Because like that's where you marry like passion and purpose in your life. Who am I? What do I want to do? How does it benefit other people? So um yeah, I'm not one to just sit completely idly by, but
Mm.
like I, I had to pick my own path, and that like I could get on and like I could be as talkative about the hot topic of the day just like everybody else, but I've sort of picked and chosen this one. It's like I'm gonna try to like stay in my lane for mostly my fucking mental health.
Mm.
Like I'm because like if I focus on the world at large, I easily get overwhelmed and angry, and that kind of like that starts ruining my day, and I don't want that for my life. So like just like everything, coming into this, you know this is a silly analogy, but I was coming into doing this show, I was like, me and you are very similar but also different. Like we've chosen different paths
Mm.
a little bit, but I was walking around my neighborhood today and people are building houses, and I was like, it'd be easy for me to look, and I don't, but it would be easy for me to look down on you for what you do, and easy for you to look down
Mm.
on me for what I do, because you don't do what I do and I don't do what you do. You know
Mm.
what I mean? But like these motherfuckers out there building the houses, first the fucking cement people come in,
Yeah.
and then the fucking
Yeah.
framers come in, and then the window guys come in, and then the electricians come in, and everybody has their fucking role, and then you get this nice ass, strong, sturdy, safe fucking house. And you can't have a frame without the fucking cement. You can't have the fucking windows without the frame, things like
Mm.
that. So it's like, I need, as if we're in this together as a country, like we need people like you, we need people like me, we need other people like that. And some people will, or I don't know, me and you just aren't the kind of people to sit idly by
Yeah. Yeah.
entirely.
Yeah.
But picking your path is important and tricky, because you always just be like, fuck it, and
Yeah.
then peace out and go live by yourself and be of no good to
Mm.
fucking anyone.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's, it's happening a lot more now. It's easy. So a couple of things. One, the more problematic or corrupt something becomes, and then the larger it becomes on at scale, the more difficult it becomes to both conceptualize what's happening and also react to it in a way that's positive, right? So I think a lot of people uh, uh, choose to just tune it out and become cynical, and cynicism ultimately leads to nihilism, right? And it's not that
Yeah,
that's not, you're not helping anybody, but especially not yourself, right? Because you've now lost any
right.
value in your life whatsoever if you've done that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I talk about habits a lot. Like it comes in a lot of different forms. Obviously, the way we run, well, the way we used to run military boot camps and the way we used to train privates when they first got to their units, there's a reason for it. It's not, we didn't just make it up because it's funny to smoke people or make people do push-ups and shit like that or whatever, to harass people. It is very, very effective as a means of drilling habits that will last you for the rest of your life into your head. This is not,
Mm-hmm.
this is a somewhat impressionable 17 to 19-year-old mind on average, but not like a 3 or 4 or 5-year-old, right? Like, it's not that impressionable. You
Yeah.
really have to drill into some of these people to get them to change their habits. And some people, it never works. But
Yeah.
the process is very effective. It's why Andy, like some people might see the whole dress right dress requirements at the First Form gym there in St. Louis as like, oh, whatever, man. Why don't you just hire somebody for that? Like, yeah, I promise you, if you're out there and you can hear my voice, I promise you that Andy can definitely afford to hire somebody to do that. He's not hurting. First Form is not hurting for money in any way. They don't not have a janitor because they can't afford one. They do it to make a fucking point. And the point is that you're not better than anybody else, and you can clean up after yourself. And it's everybody's responsibility to do that. You know what I mean? I think that's a really good habit to build. I mean, it's a very important thing to get going in your life. And that's an obvious way, right? The military or somebody that runs something somewhat paramilitary like Andy does with that particular scenario. That's a very obvious way, but I think people struggle. Since I've released these lists over the last like year or so, one of the questions I most frequently get is about this principle specifically, because people ask, well, how do I even, like, what can I actually do to help somebody? Or can I really help somebody every day? I'm like, yeah, dude, absolutely you can. The first thing you can do, like, it's super easy. Like, the first thing you can do is be on the lookout for people to help and positive things to do. If you remember, Mr. Rogers had that quote about his mom always told him in a time of emergency to look for helpers. There will always be helpers around, right? That is the person that you should strive to be as a human being. Like, above all else, no matter what else is influencing your life, whether you're religious or in the military, some kind of leader, a first responder, whether you're a parent, whether you're a manager at work, whether you're just a 13-year-old child that's a nobody in your school right now and you can hear me talking, you should be a helper first and foremost. That should be the most important thing in your life, because it influences everything else you do, right? If you set that as your standard.
I have people don't have to take on big roles where they're leading fucking 10, 50, 100 fucking people, or like where they don't have to develop a career. Like, here's how you can, and it's not artificial. It's not, I don't know. I do this weird, like, I compliment people, and especially if I see somebody like, and just randomly, I tell people, I'm like, hey man, you're looking really good. I like this. I like that. You did a good job there. And it's just like quick and passing, and it's genuine. And a really weird thing, twice in the last couple months, I just fucking was being myself and just said something nice to a person in passing. And then, a week or so later, that experience for them pops up on social media, and they're talking about it, and they're like this seems so stupid, but it fucking brightened the fuck out of my day. Like, you don't always have to change somebody's life, but fuck, it is easy to make one person smile every day, and it's so simple. And I like that Mr. Rogers quote, and I like what is it, like fucking Kanye West, who says like, nobody gets the flowers while you can still smell them.
Yeah.
Like, we don't fucking, I don't know about, for me, like, it seems like we don't often just say nice things to people, like little, it's like, or, like, you start this show and I'm like, man, like, this is a great concept. And I'm sure you're passionate about it. And, when I saw it pop up on Instagram, like things like that, like, this is a great idea. Like, good luck in this endeavor, just little things like that. That's how you can fucking be of service to people. But, like, and it seems so silly, but it does have an influence. And like, the right words by the right person, or even a random person at any time, it's just it's like, how do you serve people? Like, be try hard at your own life, and just fucking be nice. And,
yeah, I mean, it's
in
easy.
my path, so that's kind of like, sometimes I'm like, well, I don't serve my country, all I do is this health and fitness stuff. It's like, well, that's not true at all. If like, you're exercise, if you're healthier and happier, you're gonna be more empathetic, more
Mm.
productive, more compassionate, more driven. And you're going to have the fucking energy to be good at all those
Yeah.
things. So in like kind of my weird roundabout way, I still care. I'm still serving
Mm.
and trying. And it seems like I don't give a fuck about abs. It's like, it's like healthier equals happier, more
Mm.
productive, for you. And then that spills out into the people
Yeah, it's definitely
around your life. So
contagious.
if people are like, well, how do I serve others? Well, if you don't know, start by fucking serving yourself.
Mm.
And it's like, say, like, just take an example, like someone's fucking 250 pounds and they just, that's like, well, they just work a dead end job. And they're like, well, I'm not any use to anybody. It's like, okay, take on your own life,
Mm.
get health, get a little bit healthier. If you fucking lose, and I'm not saying you fucking have to, but like, say you lose 50 to 75 pounds, people see that
Mm.
and you'll be like, what'd you do?
Mm.
Because a lot of people have that, like, how are you getting healthier? You seem, more energetic, happier. Like, what are you doing? Like, somebody's going to fucking ask you.
Yeah.
And then just like your fucking well analogy, well, now you have somebody who was in that well and somebody fucking, or like you hop down in that well with that motherfucker. And it's like, here's how I got out.
Yeah, I mean I think
That, you know,
the biggest impediment, and you know this more than anybody probably because or people who do what you do probably know it better than anybody because I think it's truer in physical fitness than any other realm of American life, and it's that the biggest impediment to reclaiming your health is that people have no idea where to start. Like they just don't know.
yeah,
They're searching Google for like, what's 10 exercises I can do in the 45 minutes I have it like free a day to improve my life somehow. It's a total struggle for these people, and they just don't know what to do.
yeah,
But if you're like you said, if you take charge of your own life and improve like that, then you've not only done a service to yourself, but you've done a service to anybody around you who didn't know what next step to take. And that's a big thing for people. You could change somebody's
yeah.
life by changing your own.
Yeah, seriously, because yeah, absolutely. And if you can be the one motherfucker in your social circle that doesn't quit, like a thing, because it's just you know, everybody wants, in some ways, there are like human universals. Like we all want some of the same things,
Yeah,
like
like Maslow's
we
hierarchy of
want
needs. Yeah.
yeah. And if you just start working on those, like
Mm.
people see that. So it's in you know in a one of the points of like, so we're telling people to like work on themselves, like spend an hour a day, 60 to 90 minutes a day, where you like fucking read, think, meditate, quiet, like work on yourself.
Mm.
One of the biggest, most common things I think people are going to run into is people in their lives, like spouses or family members that have given up
Mm.
temporarily or forever, and they're going to tell you you're being selfish, like that, and like that really fucks you. Like that's happened to me, and it
Mm.
really fucks me up. It's like, you're being fucking selfish because you're at the gym, because you're reading. It's like, well, it's like, fuck yeah, I do spend a lot of time on me, man. Am I like just a selfish, scared, insecure piece of shit? Am I trying to fix myself? And then it's like, no, like this is the most unselfish, like it is really, like working on yourself is one of the most unselfish things you can do, because everybody wants to fucking do it, but it's hard and it's scary, you know?
Mm.
So if you can be the one to fucking just break through that wall and then take a few motherfuckers with you, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it definitely
Yeah.
is. And it's, that kind of stuff is contagious. Um, it starts small and gets bigger as things goes on. And I like to say that, you can control your attitude and your effort and nothing more. You know what I mean? You can't control
Yeah.
outcomes of things. That's an unrealistic expectation to have in life. Now we want to, right?
Yeah.
But if you allow your desire to control outcomes to outweigh your attitude and effort, then you become authoritarian by nature. It's the only way to solve that problem, right? It's the same from
Yeah.
governments all the way down to personal relationships. It will be the same every single time. Now, the other part of that is like what you were talking about before, just general empathy. We're going to run into a lot of problems when you try to do self-improvement stuff because, you know, there is people who have given up want you, like misery loves company, right? They want you to give up with them because
Yeah.
they want the company, but two, they want it to be okay that they've given up. They don't want to be challenged on the fact that they've given up.
Right.
That's one side, and it reminds me of this quote from definitely my favorite ever fiction book, Speaker for the Dead. And it's two people talking about this young woman who has like a heart of stone, right? She's super, I think she's a religious fundamentalist. And one person says, you know, that they're going to try to reach out to him. And the other person says, well, I'd be glad for you to try, but believe me, touching her heart is like bathing in ice. You know what I mean? And the other person, the one that wants to talk to her, says, yeah, I imagine it feels like bathing in ice to the person touching her, but how does it feel to her?
Yeah.
Like as cold as she is, it must feel like walking on the sun.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of goes back to the thing you said where, and it's a common refrain these days. It's like, you don't know what somebody's going through. Like you don't know what their struggle is, but you can be damn sure if you're struggling with something, they're probably struggling with something as well. And this is one of the things. I actually had a conversation about that this morning with somebody who was talking about their kids. Actually, Jared's mom was talking about his niece or his two nephews, right? Somebody in their neighborhood was getting picked on, and his mom was like, dude, we don't do that. But she didn't stop at stopping the bully. She explained to her sons why it was wrong and why they should have stepped in and stopped it as well. Now, I would take it even a step further, and I've been saying this a lot lately. I think you stop the bullying, you teach the people who are in the right, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, some lessons in that, but then you got to go back to the bully at some point and be like, hey man, what's up? Like, why are you doing this? It's because nobody does.
Dude, I have learned that about people. Like when I've hurt people or people have hurt me and it seems like malicious or someone seems mean, like not always, but typically it's coming from a place of pain or sadness, like, and that's not that's a dangerous, like, that's true. I think that's very true for a lot of, when people are being mean or cold, like typically, like it comes out, like anger typically comes from a fucking, pain or sadness. That's not a get out of jail free card.
No, it doesn't excuse the behavior.
It's not my fault because this, like, like I want to be different, but I was hurt, 12 years ago. It's like, no, it's like, okay, but it does give us a reason to, like, that, like at least approach a motherfucker. And it is like, and sometimes, like, lots of times, sadly, those are losing battles,
It can be, yeah, for sure.
But I do like that. So I like that you're, the three things when someone's bullying. But I was thinking, in my head, I thought you were gonna say, you go to the kid that was picked on and teach that motherfucker why that bully's opinions don't fucking matter and don't let it wreck your shit or self-image or something like that.
Yeah, that's part of it. I didn't say that, but that's part of the second step is to, like, talk to the kid getting bullied or the kids getting bullied and be like, this explain why it's happening. Like, you don't have to, I don't think it's useful to say, hey, little Johnny is an asshole. And sometimes you're just going to run into assholes in life. Now that might be true, right? But that's not the lesson that you want to teach the kid. The kid will figure that part out on their own. The lesson you want to teach the kid is there's a reason for this behavior. And if you can figure out what it is, you can help both of you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And not just both of you. Like, one of the things I like to say is that if you can turn your pain into empathy for other people, you could save two lives, yours and theirs.
Yeah.
And
because they're fucking going through it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's so.
To be honest, I don't care how.
That's good, and that takes a lot of self growth and personal
Yeah.
development to get to that fucking point where where not, not only you have to learn it, but then you have to believe it, and then you have to fucking do it.
Yeah.
So it's like, you don't just like wake up one day and have this, like, and people can hear us talking about it, and maybe it's like, at best we can hope for is it plants a seed, but yeah, you're absolutely right. um and I just started going through these books on audio on my walks. They're fucking great. It's called the War of Art or something. The guy who wrote Gates of Fire,
Yeah.
Pressfield, Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was kind of talking like just about what you're talking about with the bully. He was talking about, so he's talking about like the difficulties in like challenges of being an artist or an entrepreneur or something like that, and how people fucking give up and quit, and that's a slippery slope because it can turn you into like just a complete miserable mean piece of shit. And he said today, he was like, fucking Adolf Hitler wanted to be an artist when he was 17, 18 years old. He took all his money and he moved to Vienna, and he went to art school, and he wanted to be an artist, and that's what he wanted to do. And he fucking fouled at that. And then he said this thing. He was like, think about that. It was easier for Hitler to start a world war than it was for him to,
get over failing.
Follow through with this passion and pursuit of being an artist. I'm like, God damn. So it's like, yeah. And so like the bully, like, like some, fucking, yeah. First off, be like, slap a motherfucker, be like, not okay. But what's going on, man?
I mean, it seems like a strange approach or dichotomy, but I've used it many, many times in my life without really, like at the time, I guess I didn't really know how to articulate it. Like I like you didn't have a good relationship with my dad, but mine was kind of abusive. So, I had that same rage, but it didn't manifest itself in the same way. Like I didn't feel compelled to bully other people. I just kind of sat with it. You know what I mean? But I could see it.
Yeah.
Like when I did see bullies, I could see that shit. Like I felt it. I knew exactly what was going on with those guys. Mm-hmm. And you can't always insert yourself into these situations, but and especially if you're a young kid listening to this, if you're like in middle school or high school or something, it isn't always like if somebody's getting physically assaulted, you should probably do something about that. But if you insert yourself into a situation where it hasn't risen to that level yet, it can become problematic sometimes. It might be best to grab a teacher or something like that, but nothing's stopping you from going up to both of those kids individually later and doing what we've told you to do here. And you might ask, like, why? What's the point of doing any of this? Isn't it easier just to mind your business, take care of your family, ignore everything else, ignore all the politics and the government and all this stuff? The answer is because it's not about you. You know what I mean? If you spend your time, like we talk about self-improvement, and that's an important part because what you're doing is you're building a machine that is designed to help other people. That's why human beings have naturally formed communities for like hundreds of thousands of years now. 200,000 years we've been forming communities for that very reason, because we feel the impetus to do so because it's efficient and it makes sense. So all this, I understand that a lot of the problems seem like they're too big to solve. Like you're not going to solve unless you develop some like new kind of food technology or something like that. You're not going to solve hunger. You know what I mean? You're not going to solve poverty or pain or any other like tragedy that is intrinsic to life, because those things have happened in every generation always. But that's kind of the beauty of all this, the beauty of communities working together at the lowest possible level. Like all the luxuries that we enjoy, like warmth and food and water and safety, they're all because of our collective strength. That's why they happen. So if you just think about that in a linear, logical way, how could any of that be possible if everybody doesn't pull their own weight and more, right? So I tell people, like, you should focus on, make it 40% about you and 60% about not you. If you were dividing up your time spent, that's probably a good way to think about it. Now, it's not that much different than, eating healthy and working out. Delayed gratification makes you not only like physically and mentally healthier, but it also makes you more disciplined, and it makes the people around you inspired to do all three of those things, you know, which will dramatically improve their lives as well. I don't like people getting in the trap of like, and the reason I made this list is because I want people to think about it, you know, not because I want you to go down the list once a day and check everything off and make sure you've done that. But maybe, you know, if something in particular is speaking to you on that day, you know, do something, make a plan. If you plan to do nothing, you will do nothing.
This is you're talking about the list of the priorities. What did you
principles?
Yeah. So you know what's great about that is the principles. Yeah. You know what? At least what it at least is great about that list is it's like you read through it and then you fucking like, just in case you forget, because we all forget sometimes, you realize you're not alone in the world and you're not like this, like we're in this together. It's like, oh wait, shit. Yeah. Fuck. I am not. It's not just like, it's not just about me. I'm part of a team here. I'm part of a fucking country. I'm part of a species where you can like stop at country or something like that, you know. And it and like I think it will. It's a cool list to go through, and then you're like, okay, wait, shit, I'm not alone in this. I do have, you know, not like us. I don't know if like responsibility or duty is a strong word, because nobody certainly has to do anything ever, but might as well fucking go ahead and try to, you know, improve your life and the lives of the people around you. So I think that's a great, like what you said, like, you know, these aren't the fucking 10 commandments where we're going to go to hell if we didn't serve our country that day or something that, you know, but it's a good list to at least inspire that kind of thought and maybe like push somebody to the, I don't know, to being a little bit more altruistic that day, which would be nice, you know, a little bit more compassionate.
Well, the reason I
especially
chose
towards the people.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say maybe more compassionate, especially towards the people that hurt us.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to be compassionate to people that are nice to us. But it's different. Just like, you know, I really loved what you said about, you know, talking to the bully, because you know what that is. You know, a lot of source of a lot of unhappiness is people's arguing on the internet about politics and things like that. And you got these fired up motherfuckers saying this like nasty shit. And just like the bully type thing, like they're unhappy about something.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is just like everybody's like this and this and this and this. It's like neither one of you are taking care of your shit. And that's why you're here today. And both of you, you know, like instead of improving your lives, you're just making yourselves mad and knock that shit off, go to the gym.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, I mean,
like,
if it's,
let me tell you, if you were busy on your own life and the fucking like, you know, like actually had like a good understanding of how difficult that is and how you can benefit other people, you wouldn't have time for that fucking shit. And you would be just like above it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, if it's easier to start a world war than it is to, you know, follow through on your art career or deal with the failure of it, then it's probably got to be easier to talk shit on Twitter than it is to improve your own life, right? To your other point, like the reason and
like the sad part of that. Oh.
No, go ahead.
Oh, the saddest part about that is like when, you know, when somebody's like fucking attacking somebody on social media. The saddest part isn't that this person's getting hurt. It's like that this person is fucking hurting themselves and they don't even know it. You know, like they, you know, it's like, dude, you are in the moment doing yourself a disservice. Okay. Like stop. Like, yes, other people are wrong. Like some people are fucking shitty and we all do stupid things. Like we're not letting people off the hook here, but you know, I've never been super confrontational myself because it's like, unless we're about to fight, I'm not going to sit here and like be petty and argue with you. Okay. Like if we're going to fight, let me know, because I'll fucking throw down. All right. Yeah. Like when it's time to protect and defend, it's time, you know, But yeah, if I could get some people to stop doing one thing, it would be ruining their own lives by arguing with other people,
Right.
because they're hurting themselves, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I'll get into that now. So the reason I chose Citizen for the name of the show is because uh, I think that being the like we can't no we're not going to vote our ways out of the problems that we've created for ourselves. As a matter of fact, I'm emphatic about the fact that there's plenty of incompetence and sometimes just outright evil in politics and government. There's no question about that. But it only exists because we've allowed it to exist. You know what I mean? And I don't think voting for like what better leaders are we supposed to vote for that are going to change this? I think that's a ridiculous proposition, to be honest. And I spent a long time. I spent the last year thinking about that because that's kind of where American Party came from. Like, how do we fix this stuff? And the only thing at the end of the day that made sense to me is that if you can get the most amount of people to be the best citizens possible, then things start to change. You know what I mean? And my favorite definition of the word citizen.
So that's funny. You found your answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, my favorite definition of the word citizen is a legally recognized member of a state with associated rights and obligations. Every single definition that I found, including Cornell Law and a couple of other ones, define the word citizen as somebody having rights and responsibilities, or rights and obligations. Two things, not just rights, because we sit around talking about our rights a lot. That's primarily what we talk about. We're offended, we're oppressed. My rights. And it's sure you're certainly correct about that to some degree.
Yeah.
But what about the other thing? What about the obligation? You know what I mean? It's like obligation.
That's great. It's like a citizen is an active role.
Yes.
It's an active thing that requires daily work on your part. That's that's really cool. I like that word. It's a powerful word then.
Yeah. That's why I chose it. I think the rights and responsibilities or rights and obligations of a citizen are similar to preparation and execution. You know what I mean? So the obligations are the preparation and the execution are the rights in my mind. Like, if you don't do the obligations, what makes you think you're entitled to the rights? Right? Like, in no other place in your life ever, from birth until death, should you expect to be rewarded with something that you didn't work for. And we now, as a culture in the West, I can't speak for all Western countries, but definitely in America, to a large degree, we expect to have the benefits of the things that our forefathers described and fought for. But we are going to stop having conversations and fighting for it, and we expect it to persist. It doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird how much. I mean, it sort of seems like we've just accepted. So you started the American Party podcast, and like you said, you had this question, like, how do we fix this? And then, like, going through that, it seems like you got to this answer where it's like, oh shit, the fucking citizen, and it's like it just, and it's kind of funny because, like, the way country was founded, it was about the people, right? It's like, fuck government, we the people are gonna we're gonna do good, like, we're gonna work hard, we're gonna do good. But now it seems like, yes, in large, we have given, the government is like, it's like we expect shit it's like a lot of people expect shit from their government, and then it lets them off the hook of dealing with their own life, because dealing with your own life is fucking hard. It is hard work, but but then it's like, wait, like, being a citizen, it's like, I have these rights, my government's going to protect me and allow me a path, but it's, like, I have a duty and responsibility to be a good fucking citizen. And it's hard work, but you know what, like, that's a good life, man. Like, the right kind of good hard work, that's that's the only path I know that leads anywhere worthwhile.
Yeah, for sure.
I've gone down the wrong roads before, you know what I mean?
Same, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think not only is the outcome very effective and efficient. Like if you work hard to be the best citizen you can and challenge other people to do the same, that's going to cascade throughout your community and then throughout your country. But the other part of that is, you know, you're not just building a better country at that point. People who before had no purpose and they felt no value from what it is America is. There's large parts of the community that feel that way, right? Like rural coal miners whose jobs have just evaporated over the last 10 years, or people, black people in fucking inner cities who feel like the government's completely against them, and they have no way to achieve upward mobility except for through some fucking nefarious activities. Those people now feel like they're part of this goddamn country. And all this stuff that we enjoy, the freedom, the liberty, all this stuff, it only exists if it exists for everybody. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we're just in a caste system with more steps. And that is unacceptable to me. Like I don't know how anybody can sit around comfortable while your brothers are not. That's just not a thing we do. Like you can imagine yourself, like it's kind of the expectation, but I think it gets into your brain too. Like if you're on if you're cleaning up a gun range after picking up brass and stuff like that, and all your other buddies are picking up brass and you're just standing there, like that is not acceptable. And it's not just that they're going to talk shit to you, but you feel like a piece of shit, and you should. Like if you're standing around while other people are struggling, that's not what it means to be a citizen to me, right? It's like for a long time in America, we didn't have professional police forces. We just had like sheriffs, and we had deputy sheriffs, and we had posses, right? Like if something got truly fucked up, then we would organize all the men of the town. Like, here's your badge and your gun. Let's go take care of business. It was an expectation that when the time came, you served your community in whatever role that happened to be, whether it's on the fire brigade, like carrying buckets of water to the town hall that's burning down, or whatever it is, right? That's the expectation. I think that's the thing that I most want to do with this is empower people who are already thinking like this to do it, give them kind of a roadmap on how to do it, but also how to, challenge other people to do the same thing. Because I really do feel like this is our best and maybe last opportunity to turn things around before we're completely fucked in this country.
I like what you said about, about equality. And everybody should have the same fucking path and the same rights. And you know what? And with your goals in this podcast and things like that, maybe where I can provide something. I am easily overwhelmed with I don't understand. Like I fucking hate when people try to block somebody's fucking path. Like fucking racism, homophobia, xenophobia, whatever the fuck. It's like I fucking hate that, and I'm easily overwhelmed by it. And at the end of the day, we're never gonna end racism. We're never gonna end homophobia, or because just like we're never gonna end war, or we're never gonna end and not saying we have to but religion, God, things like that. Like some things are just kind of fucking human. And there's a lot of people on this planet. Some of them are going to be pieces of shit, but, and so being a good citizen is like I was kind of saying about my, how to build a house, it's I recognize that as a fucking problem. Like somebody has to combat racism. That person isn't me. Somebody, not in a very active, I'm not going to devote 8 hours of my fucking day to combating racism, but I'm grateful for the person who does, and they're necessary. And the same thing with we all have, it's just about what is your fight, or cause it kind of goes along with your interests, who are you? What do you want? How does it benefit other people? Some people are willing to take on that fight. Or whichever fight, if it's a good one, and it opens up that, obstruction. It's so my chosen fight is I try to unblock people's roads, but they're they're the ones blocking their own fucking road,
Mm.
like, and so that's tough to do though, because when you look at like every fucking problem, or, I don't even want to use that words, if we're talking about trying to make this place a little bit better for everyone, there's a lot of fucking little areas that need work.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't do, like, one person can't do all of them all the time, and it's going to make you like overwhelmed and kind of shitty. It's like picking one path, one fight, and then not criticizing the people who don't fucking pick your fight, but like appreciating them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like when, a couple years ago, it's like if you weren't actively anti-racist, you were the problem. And it's like, hey, motherfucker, like, I appreciate some of you, like the real ones,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Don't fucking come at me, because it's like being a good citizen means, okay, like, I won't block somebody else's path based on something fucking stupid. Like, that's the active role I can take, but when you were, I just thought of that, like, that was something I struggled with in life. And especially when I was in college, they really make you feel like it's your responsibility to take on everything and, and like devote your life to it. But it's just too much, and I feel a lot better sticking, like staying in my lane, and then appreciating and supporting when I can other lanes, like here, me talking on this show with you, like, this is your lane, this is, I bop in and contribute what I can. Plus, it just like fucking, talking to you, I'm like, yeah, like, Dan is an authority on this fucking subject, like, yeah, man. Yeah, no, I think this is great, and a great podcast concept for you and the people that listen to it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is what philosophy is, really. It's having conversations, asking questions, making mistakes, and then trying to get as much input as possible, and then distill that into, some kind of practical information, lessons, or whether it's a parable, like the guy in the well kind of situation, whatever it is, and getting the feedback from that, and putting stuff out into the real world, testing it, and see if it actually works. I've got a couple years of experience with that now. I'm pretty confident in what we're doing here. Yeah. So we'll see.
I got to get run into a massage, but like if, it's like providing like action items or a roadmap or something, not to fucking self-promote. I don't care. But like the things I talk about here, and like when you talk about habits, I have that, I did a write-up on my website. It's called The Stupid Rules, and it's like 6 daily habits, and all these things that we talked about, where like the personal development stuff. It's like 6 daily habits. I took like the 6 most important things I've learned and I do every day that help me, be like this shit we're talking about. And it's called The Stupid Rules. I think it's like $5 or $10 on DerekWeida.com. That would be a good, if somebody's curious about how they start like a good like journey in like personal development, or like, and it's physical and mental. It's like talk about meditation. I think stupid is actually an acronym, and S is it's called The Stupid Rules because S is slow down, and I talk about like meditation there, where it's like active or passive meditation or mindfulness. T is train your body. U is being like unapologetically you, and that's just about like self-esteem and confidence, but through labor, like earned confidence. So P is protect your sleep, like like how do you get like better sleep habits, because that's super important for balancing, or just it's on a sleep is good. SUPI, intentional eating is I, and D is discipline. So, and it's just really easy. And in there, I fucking have a bunch of follow-on books and, different programs, whether they're my own or someone else's. So I just wanted to mention that just in case somebody was
I was
curious and wanted like action items.
I was going to ask you about that. You've also got a private Facebook group with 50 or 60,000 people in there. I think that you chat with from time to time. Relatively,
Yeah, I was.
you don't really post as much on Instagram anymore, but Derek Weida is where you find it there.
Yeah.
What was the other thing you were going to say?
Oh, I for my own, I don't run that. I don't do the Facebook group thing anymore. It's
Mm,
all enough for me. Like, Instagram, public Facebook,
mm,
and like really, like you said, like I've sort of taken a step away,
yeah, yeah.
or just like with my training and competition, I've sort of fallen in love with some other things besides being a social media. Like when I wanted to grow a social media and do business,
Mm.
I did that, and I was successful at it. And now I enjoy doing this other thing, but just like in line with this show, like I'm going through like this weird period myself right now where it's like, what is my role as a fucking citizen? And like how happy is like being on social media making me? And but anyways, that's just me stuff. But I am limiting it, so I don't do the Facebook group anymore. But I'm around on Instagram and the public Facebook
And
group.
then there's
So yeah.
DerekWeida.com.
Yeah,
That's your website.
yeah, and that's DerekWhite.com. I have like a bunch of different training programs on there, from beginner level fitness to advanced, and then like powerlifting,
Mm.
CrossFit, whatever you want. But then like I said, I got the stupid rules on there, and then I have a nutrition write up called My Foodlosophy, where I write in it. It's about basically like how I learned to eat, and
Mm.
kind of unbeknownst to everyone and myself, like I've sort of had like an eating disorder and like really bad relationship with food my
Mm.
whole life, where people see me now and they're like, oh, look at this guy, he's fucking jacked and he kicks ass. It's
Mm.
like, okay, well, I used to be like a fucking really bad like emotional binge eater
Mm.
for like 12 years. Like that's hard to overcome.
Right.
So just yeah, a couple write-ups, and all these things are inexpensive, so yeah, maybe worth looking into. As far as being a better person, better citizen, I do think like, getting a handle on your nutrition is one of the hardest
Mm.
things any of us can fucking try to tackle,
Yeah.
and in that write up, I sort of wrote about how I tackled it and still tackle it today,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it never ends,
Yeah. No, it definitely doesn't. And I take that
Yeah.
back to the rights and responsibilities, the preparation and execution. If you don't want to be tempted by shitty food, don't buy it. Like if it's not in your house, you can't eat it, brother.
Yeah.
All right, we got to get going here.
Right.
You got to go do your
Yeah.
thing. I'm going to the Lake of the
Cool.
Ozarks. So thanks for coming out today. I appreciate it.
Nice.
Everybody go check out Derek Weida's website, DerekWeida.com, at Derek Weida on Instagram, Derek Weida on Facebook. Thanks for coming today, man. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate the invite, man. I had a lot of fun.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Citizen.